It's interesting in my recovery and my experience in life, my wisdom, if you will, that some of these things, there's two things I'm thinking of particular that were I developed as coping mechanisms or survival mechanisms in my childhood, and what you could call codependency. My just some of the trauma that I had to go through. I was turned over to the state, technically a foster kid through high school. Basically, I lived with 3 different families in high school. At age 13, I moved away from both my parents and just stayed with family. And then, again, foster care, stayed with a foster family. And last year was with my grandparents. But I had to fend for myself at an early age and learn a lot of this stuff just through trial and error. So one thing I did to survive back then was called a chameleon. I would blend in as much as I could in any environment, whether it was a sports team or friendship circles or the home that I was living in. And there's good and bad to that. The good is that I was readily accepted kind of wherever I went, I just tried not to create waves, blend in, be like my environment, and just not be offensive or intrusive, because that could get me kicked out of where I was at. And I had no ability, especially, before I was 18 and able to work. Clearly, I'm 100% dependent upon other people accepting me. So it truly was a survival mechanism. But as an adult, it carried into that, and that behavior carried into my adulthood. It can serve well, and it can also backfire, right? The backfire part of it is, I don't really stand up for what I want. I don't know what healthy boundaries are. I just kind of do what everyone else was doing and trying to be cool and just going with the wind, like truly a drifter. And so that unadulterated or unchecked can backfire on you. You never establish who you are. You don't know what you want. That's why, I go into these goal sheets, and you have to have a vision and know who you are and what you want. So without that, and if you have this tendency to be a chameleon and is, a messed up childhood with no structure and true parents in the true form, the traditional, home, or a parent that offered you good structure and sound advice, and like me, you had to figure this out on your own. Now I'm trying to unravel it and use it or get rid of it. Use it in a beneficial way or get rid of it. So with the chameleon stuff, it actually can be beneficial. I read a book, some business, book or article or whatever from some guy. So, must be true. But no, I agreed to the theory, and he talked about this same thing, being a chameleon in business. So I think it does serve me well. It's interesting to ponder when you are interacting with people, whether it's business or could be anything, man. It could be your parole officer. It could be a judge. It could be, with your own discretion. Once you get a little bit of emotional maturity back and you get some sobriety under your belt, even early on, you can practice this. You want to kind of get into a similar personality of the people that you're interacting with. In business, people will buy from you, at least in sales, people will buy from you based on emotion, on how they feel. It's very important to know your product. I mean, people think of sales like, oh, it's this dirty thing. Well, if you're just trying to sell somebody and take advantage and take their money without any regard for the betterment of them, sure, that's dirty and yucky. I've been in sales most of my life, and I've definitely done that. I've been in telemarketing and other crap that just sucked, and I felt gross at the end of the day. But now I'm selling my services. I'm in this IT field, and I genuinely believe I'm helping other people with my product and with my service, and I'm educating them. I'm bringing massive value to people with my product. So there's nothing to feel bad about. And then in exchange, I get a fair return. I get to make the sale, and they give me money, and it's a wonderful win-win. It's a fair price, and it's a great service I'm giving them. So that aspect of sales, it's more of like consulting. I'm educating them on something that they need or want or interested in anyway. So none of that's going to happen if they don't feel good about doing business with me. Integrity is a massive part of success in business. So is communication. It's I saw a study that said that actually it's the other way around. Communication is number one, then two, the way you formulate your emails, the way you talk, your ability to listen. Number two is integrity, and then three is knowing your product, or intellect, you could call it. But that all said, when you're interacting with somebody, if they don't feel good about it, they're not going to do business with you. So one thing that really helps, if they have a soft demeanor, tone it down, man. That's all I'm saying. Just wherever you reside naturally as a person, I get excited. I talk a lot, it's hard for me to tone down and listen and really be aware of their personality and try to, you hate to say mimic or chameleon, but in a sense, that's what we're doing. So if they're loud and gung-ho and, you want to go there with them so they feel comfortable being themselves, so that when the transaction or the interaction with them is done, they're going to go, there's something about that person I liked. Well, guess what it was? It was them. They see themselves in you, So hopefully your motives are pure. You have a good product. You have a good service. Your endeavors are pure and your motives are pure, because this really is a good way to influence people into the direction that, ultimately you'd like to see it go. And if that's a direction that benefits them and you, then good on you for having some skill set that helps get you there. The other thing is, I've always been a fixer, wanting to save the world, blah, blah. That can be detrimental in my relationships. It really hasn't helped very much. But in recovery, I have a saying. I used to be Captain Save-A-Ho. I got it from another guy. I can't take credit for it, but he said he was Captain Save-A-Ho. So I was too. I can certainly relate 2 marriages later, trying to fix my spouses and my partners like I would a sponsee. It doesn't work very well at all, because if they ultimately decide not to do it, which both of them did, they said, yeah, I'll do anything it takes to have this relationship work and keep our family together. And then when it came time to it, they were too scared and they didn't do it. I mean, that's just my version in a nutshell. I'm sure they'd give you a whole different version, but that whole captain, I've converted that into Captain Save-A-Bro in recovery. That's what I call it. And being Captain Save-A-Bro has saved my butt. My willingness and ability to take that codependent, what used to be kind of an unhealthy, leaving me nothing because I was so busy saving these women and, whatever, giving everything and keeping nothing because I was this martyr of my family and what I wanted didn't matter. It was all about them. Convert that into this good symbiotic, like, look, I'm willing to help you because I know it helps me. It's a win-win for both of us, step 12. And the more people you help, the more successful you will be in this life. That's Zig Ziglar. So I love that concept, and it's actually working well with balance. So taking those two things, applying them in the business world, man, do it. Do both of those things. I would advocate both of those at this juncture, whether you're in recovery or not. Think about it. Anyway, hope that helps.